Hey, I'm Jenny,
And I'm Hillary, and you can call us,
the Garden Tarts.
kissing lips and breaking hearts.
We have been bestest friends for over 25 years, and we love to talk you too.
We've had some super ridiculous adventures, and now this podcast, which is pretty much all opinion with a handful of facts thrown in.
Why a U2 podcast? Because as much as we love talking U2, we know you do too.
So sit down, grab a drink, and find us on Instagram and Twitter so we can chat. So moving on, the next thing I would just like to briefly discuss is that in 85, so I know it was after Live Aid, Bono and his wife Ali went to Africa, and it's the story of Bono and Ali. In Africa is the name of my Toto cover band, Bono and Ali in Africa.
I like it.
They went kind of on the DL without photo ops or press or anything, because they actually really wanted to do something and not just have the celebrity photo op. And they spent a month there.
Yeah.
In a place where it was like a food place where people, Bono said he woke up in the morning, there were thousands of people lined up to get food from this place, and a good number of them got turned away every day. So it was a feeding center, and they lived in it says it was a wood shelter with a tin roof. The guy that arranged their visit, his name was Steve Reynolds, and he said, this is such a great quote. His quote was, when God does eye surgery, you never see things the same again. And that's what.
Wow.
With Bono. I know, chills, right? Clearly Bono's not one to feel things lightly. If he feels, we all feel it. And there was a man that, before they were leaving, there was a man that frantically went to him and said, can you take my son? Please take my son with you when you go. And he was like, as much as I want to do that, I can't do it. And not only that, but that was the rule. They had to sign a contract or something that they wouldn't take any stop. That wasn't what it was more legal issues for the organization than it was worth. And the man said that his son was going to die if Bono didn't take him. And Bono said that he left, and he doesn't know if that kid lived or died, but he lives in him still. So apparently that was a really big life-altering.
Obviously his entire rest of his life has been devoted to Africa. This is.
And I guess it goes back to Band-Aid, actually, because, I don't think that Bono was all that interested in Africa. He just felt he couldn't tell Bob Geldof no, because he's a fellow Irishman. And
right. And he wants to do good. I meant to mention this earlier. So back around the October years, when the band part that was Bono, Edge, and Larry were trying to figure out how to balance their rock and roll life versus their faith life. And, they were being pressured by their religious group to leave the band, but they didn't want to leave the band. And they decided that they needed to use the band for good. This was their purpose, that rock and roll doesn't have to be all sex, drugs, and rock and roll and insanity. It can be used for good. And so they knew very early on in their career that was their direction, and they found a way to do it.
Right.
Absolutely. There's some funny stories. Well, if you Google it, you can find, I know there's some very hard to hear clip on YouTube. It's the audio with just some pictures or something of Bono and Ali wrote a song about hygiene,
Mm-hmm.
something like that they taught the kids and the people. They sang a lot of songs that were teaching them about hygiene and taking care of themselves to help them lead healthier lives
I
that are
think
very, very cute and poppy.
one of the songs was about not eating the seeds today because they need them for the crops later.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Very practical stuff.
very.
They're very U2-y sounding. And there was what did the kids call him? They called him like the because
Yeah.
he had hair like a woman.
I wrote it
Do
down.
you remember?
The girl with the beard.
The girl with the beard.
She had this big beard that it still is. It still is a baby beard because it didn't fill in very well, and he had long
But
hair and an earring, and so they called him the
the
girl
girl with the beard.
with the beard.
Yeah,
That's okay. He took it.
exactly. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so after they got back from Africa, is that when then Sun City happened? Little Steven recruited him for Sun City.
Sun City actually was it was a luxury resort in South Africa, and it was during apartheid, so a time of um, basically white supremacy. And
Right.
the UN imposed a cultural boycott of South Africa to condemn apartheid, and then the resort got this idea to pay out massive amounts of money to any artist that would play there, and they got a lot of people: the Beach Boys, Cher, Liza Minnelli, Frank Sinatra, Rod Stewart, Elton John, and Queen.
Wow.
Queen played like a series of shows there, I believe, and later they defended themselves by saying that they didn't their deal was that um, they didn't play to a segregated audience. But
Okay.
I don't think that was possible because it just wasn't. I
It
mean,
was the nature of apartheid was
yeah. So
segregated one way or another.
yes, but that was so there was the awareness campaign was to get artists not to play Sun City.
Yeah, ain't gonna play Sun City.
No.
So there was an album with a single. There was a song
Yes.
that I looked up. You can't find it on iTunes. I couldn't find it. But I found the video online, which is just torturous. It is over 7 minutes long. I'm like, where? I'm like, Bono's in here somewhere. I find it. It was at like the 4:41 mark. He shows up. And it's just he's got like a big line. He's very serious.
Yeah, he got the line again. He got the
Yeah,
big.
he got like the big line again. I'm trying to think what it was.
It's. I say that video is like gloriously horrible.
It is cool. I mean, it's everyone. It's got the rappers. It's got the pop stars. It's got it. I think it's from the 80s. Like we can't be judging,
But I mean,
but
really dances in that. Like it's
he does dance in it.
with his baby beard and
That's at the 5:30 mark.
oh,
So
yeah. Um so
and his hair is perfectly ironed as well. Oh, that's the other thing from we mentioned from Live Aid. This is one of his new quotes nowadays. Is it oh, I forget exactly what it is, but it's like no self-respecting man should iron his hair before the biggest moment of his career or
I'll
something.
tell you what though, that outfit he wore, I'd wear that outfit any
From
day of the
Live
week.
Aid? Hell yeah. I think you do wear it.
I kind of do, don't I? It is kind of my style with like
Black with the boots. Yeah.
it's very it's oddly a tailored look.
Yes.
But those boots and the pants and the jacket with the puffy shirt, the military jacket, like that's so my style. It
So
has
your
been.
style for a long time.
Yeah. I would totally wear that.
Yeah.
So also on the album that came out that was Artists Against Apartheid, as the story goes, one of the songs on the album started with uh, an old story that Bono was in New York and he was hanging out with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, and they were like, "Play us one of your songs," and he's like, "I don't have any songs." Like he can't play a song without his band. Like he had nothing, and he said he was
Yeah.
so embarrassed that he went back. Like he didn't realize that that was lacking, I think, in his life, and so he went back to his hotel room. This was around about the time a friend of theirs, little Steven, was putting together the record of
Artists Against Apartheid.
Yeah. It's a song that's written about a man in a shanty town outside of
Outside
Johannesburg.
of Johannesburg. A man who's looking down the barrel
Of white
of
South.
white South Africa.
A man who's lost faith in the peacemakers
Of the West.
while they argue.
And they fail to support a man like Bishop Tutu.
His request for economic sanctions against South Africa.
Am I bugging you?
I've lived my whole life for that.
I don't mean to bug you.
No,
I didn't actually know I knew that.
That song turned out to be Silver and Gold, which is featured live on Rattle and Hum, which we'll discuss later. But
he said like he went back to his hotel room. He had his guitar and like some boots. Like, or he had something on his boots, and like that's the clacking noise. Yeah. But on the album, he recorded it with Mick and Keith, or they're credited with it.
Yeah, on the actual album.
It's a great version. It's a great version of that song.
It's so like compared to the version that they play live, it's so stark and
yeah.
You know, if I didn't
raspy voice, like I love it.
I love it too. Like I think if that's your first song you write by yourself, that's a pretty good one. I mean,
I'd high-five him for that.
Yeah, seriously. It's a really good job, but I love the story and I love that we could explain it more to you guys in our own words.
Yeah. In our own words.
Not our words.
Asterisk, not our words.
Okay, so I have two quotes about this, which I totally forgot I even had.
Okay, let's hear them.
Okay, so in an interview, and I just thought this was so great. An interview, little Steven, who is part of the E Street Band, which we didn't remember. Yes. We didn't mention before, hashtag Bruce. Little Steven was doing an interview, and he was asked if he thought with Live Aid and We Are the World and Band Aid and Farm Aid, if there were too many aid songs. And he was like, are there too many love songs?
Oh, I like that.
And then, so then Bono said that somebody in an interview, somebody asked him, why is it always him out front? And he said that basically because the others wanted a life, to live a life, and that activism had become his life.
Yeah.
So I didn't think I had that much on Sun City.
Yeah, you had a good amount of stuff. Well, it's so interesting because I could see how in the moment it's just like there's all these songs and like just being in front of them all. But now in hindsight, this has been his mission since the beginning. And he found his niche of where to focus on.
Yep.
The entire continent of Africa, but
yep. And the rest
quite of the big, and the rest. Of the
world. But definitely he's taken on Africa on his own there. So.
Yeah. And we'll have to do more. I mean, if we're gonna, this is like good stuff part one.
We've got a big good stuff part two
Yeah. We
ahead
can just keep doing it.
in a while.
So I believe Sun City came out December 1985.
Mm-hmm.
So Live Aid's July 85, Sun City's December 85, and then we get to Self Aid for Ireland, which is May 86. This is like boom, boom,
Right.
boom, boom. So Self Aid, apparently there was a catastrophic level of unemployment in Ireland. And this was a concert to, I mean, they didn't need to raise awareness for this. They needed to raise money to help the jobless, and they needed to raise awareness and to really pressure these big companies to open up jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a concert. It was the Erie Sun Tribune called it Jobs, Cash, in Rock and Roll. It was a 14-hour long concert that was, of course, Bob Geldof inspired. Because apparently, once you find your thing, you go for it. U2 was the big headliner.
Big headliner.
Big headliner. Other big names were Boomtown Rats with Bob Geldof, Van Morrison, and Elvis Costello. It was at the Royal Dublin Showgrounds, which held 30,000 people. That was the attendance. Bono admitted that, and he says it even on stage, that he has a hard time identifying with the unemployed because at this point he was 26 and he had been in a band for 10 years. So, but he knew that it was part of his job to help support these people. He said it way more eloquently and in a much more passionate way than that. The concert ended up 1,200 jobs were pledged post concert. So hopefully those 1,200 people had jobs. And it was also on TV as like a telethon, and they raised £500,000.
Wow.
What that went to, I don't know. Bono was in his brown fringed coat phase.
He's a little chubby too.
A little filled out.
Yeah, that's
But
fine.
we're fine. We're body positive.
Yeah,
This is purely mentioning. I'm sure his tushy was great.
I'm sure.
Edge had entered his playing card in the hat phase. These are very important things. They didn't last long. They played Pride acoustic, and then Come On Everybody, Eddie Cochran song, Sunday Bloody Sunday, Maggie's Farm by Bob Dylan, and so I need to look up Maggie's Farm because I don't understand the story behind it, whatever. It's a pretty like intense song. Like they sing it really. Apparently it's very pertinent. And I feel bad that I don't understand it. And then Bono thought they were done, that they'd run out of time, and they tell him that they can do one more song, so they do Bad. And I think it was a really good, successful show and a successful concert, and they're always happy to play home.
And that was a really important show because, everything else is foreign, but that's domestic, and obviously it's closer to
and
home.
It's not Africa. It's home.
It's home. It's I think also important to note that they were recording Joshua Tree when all this went down, and I mean they stopped recording. They pushed back actually recording when to play these shows, to play Self-Aid.
Self-Aid. Yeah. Well, nothing's more important to them than home. This is for sure. As much as they get shit around Dublin and Ireland for being as big as they are, they seem to support one another.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't feel like there's anything about Self-Aid that's necessarily remarkable about their performance. I mean, other than the fact that it was just a really great performance. I don't have anything. I feel like that was a small dissertation. Because then, oh my gosh, so that was May 17, 86. And then June 14, is that right?
No, 4th.
No, June 4th. I wrote, that was actually June 4, they hopped on the Conspiracy of Hope tour, which was like a little 2-week tour celebrating the 25th anniversary of Amnesty International. There's a fun story about this that a gentleman from Amnesty, there are 2 people from Amnesty who were tasked with finding artists for whether it was a show or a series of shows. And they got in touch they had a meeting with Paul McGuinness and Bono, and they said, "You've got us. Tell us where and when. You've got us. We will do this." And I guess McGuinness got like, I don't know, a scrap piece of paper and whatever, and wrote like a really informal letter, because they figured, oh, once we got you two, we'll get everyone else. And they're like, you need it in writing. People will not believe you.
Right.
That it is legit or finalized or on the books if it's not in writing. And even then, they had a hard time. They ended up with 6 shows over a 2-week period, starting in San Francisco and then ending with a televised event in Giant Stadium in New Jersey.
That was aired on MTV.
Yes. It was 8 bands with guests coming and going, 36 musicians, 200 tour personnel on one airplane for 2 weeks.
Crazy.
Well, maybe all that's the 200 tour personnel, I think, include the 36 musicians.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I think. So all 2 people were on the same airplane, and they're apparently just like the camaraderie and stories that came out of that.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I mean, the artists that performed, and it was, again, not all these artists perform every night, but they included Peter, Paul, Mary, Little Steven, Bob Geldof, Jackson Brown, Yoko Ono, Howard Jones, Miles Davis, the Neville Brothers, Joan Baez, Lou Reed, Peter Gabriel, Bryan Adams, Joni Mitchell, and the Police.
The Police. Sting was on the tour, on the 2-week tour, and I believe he had a jazz band with him. And one night in Atlanta, it was the Police.
Right, and then, so I think that they played the Police because they had been broken up. They got back together just for these shows.
Right.
It was, so Atlanta, and the next show was in Chicago, and then the last show in East Rutherford.
Yeah. I read a few different things, and in every instance, it mentioned some pillow fight on the airplane.
I read that too.
Without much detail, so apparently that was something memorable.
Yeah, I read that too. It also, because they were, this was to raise money and awareness, they didn't have a big budget, so they stayed in like hotels like Hyatt and Ramada and Marriott. Who would have thought they'd stay at a Hyatt? I'm just saying. One time they stayed at a Hyatt in San Antonio, but that's another story.
That's a whole nother story. That was a Hyatt like resort.
Yeah. But so after the shows, I mean, these are past the days of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So afterwards, everybody would just go to the hotel bar or lounge and all these musicians would just sit around and talk and play music, and to be a fly on the wall
Oh my gosh, right?
with that group. And Adam said that, everyone did their part, and everybody, you know, they went back and forth between U2 being the opener or the Police or Sting being the opener. But Adam said that it's really hard to have an ego when you're dealing with prisoners of conscience as an issue.
There were a handful of prisoners of conscience which is what Amnesty International deemed people who were being held not because they had done something illegal, but because they were speaking out against injustice. And there were maybe 6 or so specific people that they were campaigning for that hoped that they would actually be released by the end of this tour. And there was, at the end of that giant stadium show, there were a handful of prisoners of conscience that joined them on stage. If any of them were any of those specific people, I'm not sure, but it's pretty crazy how effective it is. I mean, I remember being a young fan and seeing the Amnesty address in the back of the liner notes, and I wrote it, and I would get letters from Amnesty saying, here's who you write to and here's what you say, and I did it every single time.
And Greenpeace, I remember.
And Greenpeace.
Yeah.
That I was writing to these people about freeing prisoners like it was my job.
Oh, absolutely.
It worked.
Did a great job with making us all aware.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't have the figure, but I don't know, the membership of Amnesty International after the Conspiracy of Hope tour, like, increased by like 1,000 times or something. I mean, it was a huge number.
Huge. There is speculation about how effective an awareness campaign like this, awareness tour could be. They could obviously raise money through tours and singles, but what would this do? And I read a story from Bono about there was sometime in the I want to say it was 75, 76, that he went to a show with the police there. Oh my gosh, I forget, but it was an awareness show for Amnesty. And that's when he jumped on that train. He's like, if it worked for me, how come it won't work for everyone else? And he was right. Like, he knew.
Was it the Secret Policeman's Ball?
It was the Secret Policeman's Ball. Yes. I knew the police were there, and I knew it was in the title.
Pretty sure that they played there at some point. I mean, it was a regular, they had it several.
Right, but the thing I remember him mentioning, and I'd be like, wait, police, I had to read it a few times to make sure I was reading that correct, that the police were actually there. But he's like, awareness campaigns work.
Right.
So he was happy to be on it. I have a quote from Bono. He says, you have to be deaf, dumb, and blind not to hit back at the injustice of the world we live in. That is Amnesty related. And Sting said, it's one thing to reflect the mood of the time. It's much harder to change the times. Some little fodder there.
Yeah. Well, at least my memorable moment of this, obviously, was so U2 had gone back and forth again with, like, they'd have a show where they were the headlining act, and then Sting was, and they were, and the police, and they went back and forth like it was really fair.
Yeah.
But so the last show, the police were supposed to close, but they were the headliner. But at the last minute, they asked for U2 to end the show, and it was like a ceremonial handing over guitars, and U2 finished playing with the police's instruments after their set, and Bono said it was incredibly generous on their part that Sting was pretty emotional because it was the end of him being in a band.
Yeah.
I mean, he did
Oh, that gave me chills.
that, me too. And what they were doing was passing the torch to you too, which
Yeah.
to me, I mean, they were the biggest band in the world for a really long time, the Police, and they just kind of
Mm,
like, our time's up, it's yours now, which it surely was. But to me, that's just so awesome.
those are
But
all of our guys.
yeah, it just makes me so happy. But there was a song that Bono came on with the Police, and he sang with Sting, "Invisible Sun," which is about Northern Ireland. So that was kind of fitting.
Yeah.
I don't know when that was. I don't think it was the last show. I think it was another show. But it's just really cool. Like, I just like that camaraderie. I mean,
Definitely.
yeah.
I just figured this out as I was doing some research for this app, was that in 2013 they released a CD.
Which
It's
I
like
listened
a
to
5 disc
today.
CD or something. Which
Yeah,
what?
I listened to part of it today. You sent me the link, and I never watched it. I mean, I never listened to it, and then I listened
Yeah.
today. And it's
It's
not good.
it is not good, and I want to blame some of the recording at the time.
Uh,
And Bono has some like Bad is great, but
Sunday was
MLK, it starts with MLK into Pride. And MLK is like, I don't know what he's doing. He's like barely speaking the words, and Pride was like a screaming version. I don't know where it was recorded, but this was
definitely
not.
a streaming version of Pride. It was like he gave up entirely of having any control over his voice, so he just yelled.
Yeah, but
But
then Bad sounded pretty good.
Sunday Play Sunday, I thought sounded
Yeah,
it's it was a very toned down version from what they played in the past.
yeah,
So I mean, that was kind of cool. But in that, you can kind of hear that he has some little bit of a grasp of his voice, but maybe he was just saving it for a recording. I don't know, because it just sounded bad. It sounded like he was yelling a lot.
yeah. Then also on the CD, they sing Maggie's Farm, the Bob Dylan song, Help from the Beatles, and Sun City, where a lot of the Sun City participants that
Right.
are there come out. That was a version I watched on YouTube, so I'm wondering if that is what's from the MTV show.
Maybe. But from all of this, from the talking about Band-Aid and talking about Live Aid and all the way through Conspiracy of Hope, there's just something really, it just makes me feel like what good guys and what humble guys. I mean, I think that over time, at different times, they maybe lose that just a little bit, but that's okay too. I mean, you need to, if you're going to be a
Yeah,
star, you may as well be a rock star. But I mean, the way that the way that Bono and Adam talked about how, um, uncomfortable they were when they went to Band Aid, that it wasn't, they weren't in their element, that wasn't who they were. And then even more so,
yeah.
I mean, Larry and Adam both said that they were crazy nervous to go on stage in that. And then all the way to Conspiracy of Hope, and now they're like, the
These are
headline.
their people. Yeah.
And it's just an amazing, in just that small amount of time. And I mean, obviously Live Aid gave them a boost, but they also needed a boost, you know,
Yes.
um, because I mean, they had matured from boy, but now it's like really being responsible grown-ups kind of thing.
Yeah. And these are big commitments. Like
Mhm.
I remember the reading the guy who, booked you two and they were trying to get more people to play on this tour, these are active work. They're rich rock stars, but they're working musicians, and I'm on tour or I'm recording or my band's not available at this time. Like there were so many people that just couldn't physically do it because of other commitments. And U2 made it happen because it was important to them. They also, I guess, when they landed in New York or when they were in New Jersey for the MTV show, there was an anti-apartheid. That's a lot of syllables. Rally in New York that was going on all day, and they felt like they should make an appearance. And they did, and it's possible like no one even knew they were there.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
But they showed up.
Yeah.
It was in Central Park or something like that, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, yeah. When they find something they're committed to, they stick to it. This is for sure.
So what is the question you would ask Bono over whiskey and cake?
Oh gosh. You know, I think about this when we're doing the album apps, but this one I hadn't gone through. So I'll just throw something out there. I would ask him if he would do that, if he could like rewrite how those awareness and fundraisers happened, knowing what he knows now about budgets and governments and this and this and that, if there would be a more effective way to raise more money or more awareness.
That's a really good question.
There. But through the music and through the concerts. I mean, obviously he's doing so much commercially and through legislation and this and that now. But was like, how effective was this, or what would he add on to or change to make these events more effective?
That's really deep and a good question.
Thanks.
Would you like to hear my question?
I want to hear your question.
I would ask Bono over cake and whiskey if he would go see my Toto cover band, if I call it Bono and Allie in Africa.
He sure as hell better show up.
I mean, we don't have a singer either, so if you don't
it's okay, because the Garden Tarts don't have a drummer.
Yeah. We're all guitar players, right?
I think so. And singers or something. We're all guitar players.
Yeah, so
that's another ep we're gonna do. We're gonna get Garden Tart Amanda on the horn, and we're gonna do an origin story.
Hey there, listeners. If you're a U2 fan, you are more than likely aware of the work that Bono has done and continues to do in Africa. It's amazing work, and the exciting thing is you can get involved too. There are 2 simple ways. 1. Go to one.org and sign up to fight against extreme poverty. 2. Visit red.org to shop. What? Shopping helps? It sure does. By purchasing Red branded products, you are contributing to the Global Fund, which supports HIV/AIDS grants in many African countries. As your man says, where you live should not decide whether you live or whether you die. So head on over to one.org and red.org to join the Garden Tarts in doing our part to end AIDS.
Hey, welcome to Good Stuff.
Good stuff, baby.
Are you going to break into the B-52s?
But it is a shout out to that wonderful album, #Good Stuff.
Awesome.
YouTube's done a lot of good stuff.
They have done a lot of good stuff. And they started doing so much good stuff in the 80s that we thought it would be good to take a break, a small pause from our album chats and cover some of this stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot to cover in the course of like 2.5 years.
I know it is, but we're going to try and fly through it. Should we say hi to some of our new people?
Please, let's do that.
I tried to make kind of a a best of, not best of, because everyone is best. I tried to make a diverse list, but this is some of them. We can say hello to Alberta, Canada.
Yay!
Our new friend in Sri Lanka.
Oh my gosh.
Legit. I've actually chatted with him on Twitter. It's a real person. Amsterdam, Manchester, England, and more of England. Back in the States, we've got some more cities in California, Anaheim, Reseda, Philadelphia, the entire state of Minnesota. It's actually just one city. I didn't write it down. And there's a good handful of Northeast Ohio cities, which is where I live. And I don't know who these people are, which is pretty exciting to me. Who are you, Cleveland area people?
And what are your license plates?
So there, if you follow us on Twitter, you would have seen that in my local grocery store. I see it all the time now. It's a U2 War license plate, and where they park, it's actually more behind an apartment building / businesses. Like the bottom floor is businesses and the second floor is apartments. So it's someone back there.
You should leave a note on their car.
I will next time.
Who are you?
I actually thought about it last time, but I had nothing to write on.
Oh, when we have our business cards, just put one of those under the...
I will for sure.
Wiper.
I totally will. We're coming for you, U2 War. Second most important thing, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking the Jameson Castmate Stout Edition with some sour mix and ginger ale in my U2 cup.
Oh, look at that U2 cup.
My U2 tumbler.
Where did you get that?
Got it in Connecticut.
At the U2 store?
Yeah.
That's what my dad says. I'll be like, where'd you get that radio? He says at the radio store.
Right. I say everything. My boss asked once, where do you think you get those big checks?
The big check store.
Bigchecks.com. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, wait. I was being a smart ass, but there is bigchecks.com.
I'm sure there is.
Or the sweepstakes checks.
That is hilarious.
Well, it just so happened that I was in Connecticut, and there was a U2 show there.
Oh.
Cups, but I think I paid like $20 because I had to pay for the cocktail and the.
Oh, nice! Had a cocktail in it.
But it was worth it.
Yeah.
And then found one on the floor, so I took that one too.
Oh, sweet! Not even matching set.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a new to me Jameson. I went to go buy more of the stout edition, or I thought I would try not buy Jameson this time, but that seems to be harder than I thought. And this is it's new to me. It's called the Black Barrel. I should have brought the bottle in because the tagline was great. It's like charred for a smooth taste. Or something like that. It's amazing. It's no joke. So cheers.
They really need a tagline. It's just Jameson.
It's just Jameson. But now there's so many Jamesons.
I know.
So my friend here in the Cleveland area who is from Ireland, her sister's coming to visit. And she's trying to bring me a bottle of the Jameson cold brew.
Oh my God.
Apparently it's only available in Dublin, and she lives on the West Coast and is flying out of Shannon. So she's going to look at duty free and see if they can find it.
I have a friend that just got back, but I didn't realize he was there until he got back.
Yeah.
He probably
she's like emailing info@jameson.com. To try and find it for me. What a good friend. I didn't ask her to do that.
We should have her on the podcast. Maybe she can interview us if Bono's not available.
Oh, that's an idea.
She's got the accent right.
If Bono and Oprah aren't available?
No, if Bono and Oprah aren't available, then...
We'll go for someone with an Irish accent.
Or anyone.
She'd be happy to. She'd be on the floor laughing at us the whole time.
Anyone that would... be patient enough with us. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do an that's a interview of us by someone else.
Yes.
Someday.
Maybe we'll have a few of them. Maybe we can do a few.
Yeah.
Different styles of guests. That'd be fun.
A lot of but we'll have guests, and instead of asking them questions, they can ask us questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's find out what kind of do good stuff the band was doing.
Lots of good stuff.
Yeah.
So during the course of this podcast, we're gonna be talking about Band-Aid, Liveaid, Artists Against Apartheid, and Self-Aid, with some other little bits in there.
Oh my gosh, that is so much stuff.
But it covers November 25th, 84 through June 15th, 86. Which really, when you think of it, isn't really that long. And in the middle of all of that, and this is a really thing that we have to keep in mind, in the middle of all that, they were touring and recording the Joshua Tree.
So much.
Yeah.
So, I can't even imagine.
I'm overwhelmed putting the information together. I can't imagine living through that.
I know. I feel like we're going to have to this is like Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
For sure.
I needed my own fact checker.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
But we'll do our best. People will fact check us. Please tell us if we're wrong. But be nice. Just be like, oh, just so you know, here's the correct information, and we'll be like, duly noted. Yeah. We won't make that mistake again.
I'm pretty
sure.
You
don't need to be wrong.
I'm pretty sure we know what we're talking about with most of this stuff, but I mean, we could have some facts wrong. Please tell us nicely.
Can I start with a quote from Pete Townsend?
Yes.
And I think this is actually more around like the Amnesty conspiracy of hope, but I think it just sets the tone for everything. He says, I wouldn't like to see you two burn out because they take too much of the world's problems on their shoulders. They're very compassionate. I think what Bono has to realize pretty soon is that no one man can do it all. Which we could probably say, maybe he can.
That's really interesting.
Isn't it? I found that was a quote from Rolling Stone. And I
that's heavy.
And maybe he is not saving the world by himself, but he sure has built one hell of a team.
Yeah.
To do it. Okay, so what do we start with first?
Let's go in chronological order. And that means we start with Band-Aid.
Okay.
I have some fun facts before we get into well, I guess everything we're doing is a fun fact. But it was recorded on November 25th, 1984. The BBC had covered the famine in Africa in Ethiopia pretty extensively, and it sat with Bob Geldof. He watched it on the BBC. He watched the news reports, and he obviously that moved him. But
and people who don't know, Bob Geldof, singer of the Irish band Boomtown Rats.
Yes. Ethiopia from 1983 to 1985 had a famine, and it was a combination of a civil war and a record low rainfall, and the government just mismanaged all their money. 46% of the Ethiopian gross national product went to military spending while the country starved. The UN estimates that there were 1 million deaths.
Wow.
Yeah, from that famine. And I remember that being on the news. But ironically, the choice for this song is a Christmas song. And at the time, Ethiopia had a communist government, and they didn't celebrate religious festivals. And even if they did, 3/4 of the population doesn't celebrate Christmas anyway. But whatever works.
Well, it's a good selling point, but the whole tagline of the song is, "Do they know it's Christmas time at all?"
They probably don't because it's not.
Because it was like illegal.
But if we, if you sell it,
Okay, it's selling records.
the Ethiopians, unfortunately, were not the ones buying the record. So I
Right.
guess to go to your fan base. But that's yeah. So the recording studio gave them 24 hours to record and mix the album.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 24 hours to get all of those people. It took they recorded the audio from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Do you know how many people were on the recording by chance? It's okay if not. I'm just curious. It's a lot. If you haven't heard this, it's every major celebrity at the time, including Bono and Adam.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'll tell you some of the people, or I'll just say participating members were from some of these bands. Kool and the Gang, Status Quo, Boomtown Rats, obviously, Bananarama, Spandau Ballet, Culture Club, Paul Young, Paul Weller, Jody Watley, Nijier, and that's all I got.
Okay.
Oh, and Adam.
And Adam.
Yeah. So I read in YouTube by U2, which is great and very, very humbling of, I think, Bono and Adam. But apparently Bob Geldof called Bono to see if they would participate, and their schedules were really tight. And so basically the band said no, and Bono said yeah. But Bono didn't want to go by himself, so Adam said, because he didn't want Bono to feel bad and being alone, he tagged along. And when you think about it, and this goes for Live Aid as well, but these were huge pop stars, and Bono was just a little pisher at the time. Like, he didn't. Yeah, and so he said
way pre Joshua Tree.
Way pre. And so he said that when he got there, people just stared at him because he didn't look like a pop star. He felt out of place, and no one made any effort to make him feel otherwise but Simon Le Bon. Bono said he had grace.
Oh.
Yeah. So Bono looked at the lyrics when he got there, and he said, well, the best lyric is tonight, thank God it's them instead of you. And he was like, that's the best lyric, and it's biting, and it's a prime example of a rock star. And he was like, but I'll never sing that line. Like,
right.
That's like, I know that is the least likely line I will sing. And Bob Geldof walked up to him and told him to sing that line, and Bono was like, I'm not singing that line. And Bob said that the song was about helping people, not about Bono.
Oh.
So, and then Bono's reply was, no, really, it was about Bob. But Bono sang it. Yeah, Bono sang it, and he said in his head he was impersonating Springsteen.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair play, Bono.
Yeah. Well, I love this song. I have very fond memories of being a child and hearing this song on the radio, and I still get as excited now hearing it as I did then. I especially get happy when I hear Sting sing his own name.
Yeah.
Peter Sting of Tears. And I'm like, man, that's the best. I hope that wasn't an accident.
I hope. I don't think anything like that could be a coincidence.
The thing is that David Bowie was supposed to sing, and he couldn't make it, so Paul Young got David Bowie's line. That would be a totally different song. I mean, I think Paul Young does a great job, like amazing job, but it would have given it a totally different context if David Bowie had sang it. The other thing, fun fact, is that Boy George was supposed to be there, but never woke up. and he ended up being there, but he never woke up, and Bob Geldof had to call him on the phone in New York, get him to get on the Concorde so he could be there.
Oh my gosh.
Got there at 6 p.m. and they recorded until 11.
That is crazy.
So crazy.
That is a fun fact.
It's a really, really fun fact, but Culture Club were in the middle of a tour, and literally Bob Geldof, it says, woke him up by phone to have him flown over from New York on the Concorde.
Oh my God. That is crazy town.
So crazy. So Band-Aid was the fastest selling single of all time in the UK at the time. It sold 1 million copies in its first week alone. It was not overtaken until Elton John's version of Candle in the Wind for Princess Diana in 97.
Wow.
Which makes a lot of sense. It ended up, Band-Aid raised £8 million. They thought it was going to raise 70,000 pounds.
Okay. Gosh.
That was really, really impressive.
So impressive.
Yeah.
And then from Band-Aid, liveaid was born.
Yes.
Right? They wanted to do more?
That what?
That they wanted to do more? Is that?
It was, so what I read was that it kind of stemmed from like a culture club show where they had a lot in London. They had a lot of the performers from Band-Aid get on the stage at the end of the show, and they all sang the song together, and it made Boy George cry. And so you know, Bob, we need to do this. We need to have a whole concert. And Bob was like, "Are you planning it?" And he's like, "No." So,
Bob's like, okay. Oh my gosh. So should we get into liveaid?
Let's go into liveaid.
So on July 13th, 1985, liveaid took place, and it took place simultaneously between Wembley Stadium in London and JFK Stadium in Philadelphia. And it's my understanding that this was like nothing of the likes of this had ever happened before. Like, this was the most amazing fundraising concert and awareness concert of all time. It was, I mean, more people than you could imagine. Anyone that was big was playing it. But we are, of course, talking about U2.
Yes.
So U2 played. This was a huge deal for them. They were just coming off Unforgettable Fire. And, I mean, they were playing with the likes of, like, Queen, the biggest band in the world. And U2's like...
Totally out of their element.
Totally out of the element. And just another one of the big bands. Like, they weren't... I think they were happy to participate.
Right.
They had, if I understand correctly, so they have a certain amount of time. They were supposed to play Sunday Bloody Sunday, Bad, and then Pride, which was their big hit.
They had 15 minutes.
15 minutes to play those three songs, and Pride was like, this was it. Like, this was their big clinching, big single moment. They got through Sunday Bloody Sunday, and then Bad took a detour. I think it was like 12 minutes long or something.
I think it was.
Something like that.
And
go ahead. You want to tell what happened during Bad?
Bob Geldof.
Go back. You have something else?
That was that no one could leave the stage and no extra people could go on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So Bono totally didn't abide by that. There was I hope I get the story right. But he saw a girl that he thought was getting like smushed. That's part of the story, but he said he was looking for a TV moment and not thinking about the context of everything that needed to happen. on stage. So he tried to get the girl to come up from the barricade and ended up not waiting around for that and jumping, they said 10 feet.
It was huge. Like this stage was like he went down one level, which was easily a few feet. And then he's trying to like coax this girl over the barrier from the general admission. And he was kind of like, fuck it, I'm just getting down there.
Yep.
And it is a full story. Like this was no joke. And you know, which means there's also no easy way back up. I just watched it the other day and I think 3 girls end up coming over.
Yeah. Yep. But that was, you know, the big no-no, and he spent so long. He also, it had to be, in addition to leaving the stage, he added every single song in the world into Bad. He snipped every song, like
every song.
Satellite of Love and I don't know, Sweet Jane maybe. No, Walk on the Wild Side.
Walk on the Wild Side.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, there was something else at the end before Walk on the Wild Side. I can't think what it is. I should have had it written down. But yeah, and it's like he realizes he needs to get back going, so he gets back up to the mic and proceeds to insert like 3 more songs. It's like, I think it's time to wrap it up now.
Right. So they were supposed to have 3 songs and they had 2 songs and they didn't get to play their single. And there was quite the hoopla about that. The band was very angry with Bono.
And Bono like went into hiding.
Yeah, he was
a little personal hiding.
Edge said when Bono jumped off the stage, the rest of the band couldn't see him, and they panicked. And Edge said it crossed his mind that maybe Bono just left. They were all so nervous. Like this is not the norm. That's not the norm for anybody.
Right.
But he said that they panicked because he said he was just gone. They couldn't see where he was. They couldn't see what was happening. And Bono said he was just looking for a TV moment and forgot about Pride. So the band was pissed off with him. He was depressed because he thought he fucked up their set, like really depressed.
Right, like he ruined everything.
Everything, like that was it. That was their career. And so go ahead, do you have more?
No, I guess he emerged from hiding for a few days to learn that it was the biggest moment in the entire event, and they were like topping the charts and everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, all of their albums went back on the charts. Paul McGuinness apparently called him, their manager at the time, called Bono and said that people had said that that Bono and Freddie Mercury had stolen the show. And Bono said he thought they were all mad because the band was crap. But Paul McGuinness says after that day, nothing was ever the same again because everybody knew who Bono was.
Yeah.
So I love that performance. I do not believe it was the best performance of the day. I think that Queen performance was, I think it was voted by Rolling Stone as the best live rock performance in the history of the world. And I agree with that. That was just amazing. It was amazing that U2 were not all that popular and they had so many fans with signs. Like you see those signs when everyone's playing. And you can see it if you watch Bohemian Rhapsody. You can see the band going on stage passing Queen, but you can also see the U2 signs in the crowd, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's a very good movie. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out.
Yeah, for sure. It's true. Like, I mean, I think it's one of those moments, it's make or break, and it just depends how people start talking about it.
Yeah.
Like if a few people start praising it, it just spirals.
Okay, the songs that Bono snipped into bad were Satellite of Love, Ruby Tuesday, Sympathy for the Devil, and Walk on the Wild Side.
Okay.
They were, Paul Young went on before them, and Dire Straits, poor Dire Straits, went on after them. So Dire Straits was between U2 and Queen.
Wah, wah.
Still did it. I mean, Dire Straits was amazing that day. They had Sting, #Sting, do I Want My MTV. These are some of the bands that performed with that day, which you have to, again, they were just...
For Live Aid, yeah.
Yeah, they were just these young kids, and they played with on the same billing as Elvis Costello, Sting, Dire Straits, Queen, David Bowie, The Who, Elton John, Paul McCartney. I mean, this is crazy lineup. In Philadelphia was Black Sabbath, Run DMC, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Beach Boys, Simple Minds, Pretenders.
Oh my! I mean, anyone who's anyone.
Yeah, Madonna, Tom Petty, Neil Young. Oh, and this is just a little fun fact that has nothing to do with YouTube, but Phil Collins played both London and Philadelphia because he left London
because he could.
Took the Concorde to Philadelphia, and so he played both shows, which I always think is kind of cool. I don't know. I'm obsessed with that concert. I watched it for real on MTV. I think I thought it was all live, but the only live part that most of the only live part I could have seen was Philadelphia because of the time difference.
Yeah.
So I saw some of England, but I don't think I woke up at 5 a.m. or whatever, or 7 a.m. to start watching that. But I was a little kid, and I got the P.O. box number from MTV, and my mom wrote like a check for $10 or something.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Good job, Leslie. Way to support. So I think this was a really good little pause before we hit the monster that is the Joshua Tree.
Yes, it is. This was way more overwhelming than I expected, though. But it's nothing compared to the behemoth that is the Joshua Tree,
which is just the first of the behemoths.
And I mean,
it's like the Behemoth Junior.
Yeah, it is. And I guess that, every episode probably from here on out should be called Good Stuff, because that's the continuing theme. The other song on that album is called Hot Pants, and I'm so glad that we called this episode Good Stuff instead of Hot Pants.
We could have called Under a Blood Red Sky Hot Pants.
Yeah, I think that there was more specifically, hot pants.
Dog's gonna go crazy.
But pants. Should give that album a whirl. It's pretty good. 1992.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to that in forever. Well, thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you so much. We're very flattered.
Telling your friends. And we're so glad that you're enjoying this journey with us. This is fun.
We're having a lot of fun, so I hope you are too.
Well, until next time, y'all, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
We'll talk to you soon. We'll listen soon.
You'll hear us soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Also, we love hearing from people and chatting with people, and of course, we love talking you too. So you can drop us a line on Instagram or Twitter at _gardentarts, or you can even email us at wearethegardentarts@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you soon. If you enjoy this podcast, we would love it if you would share it with your other YouTube-loving friends, as well as leave a review for us on whatever platform you use to listen to podcasts. We would really, really love that. May your music be loud and your whiskey be strong. Until next time, cheers.